Alright, today we are talking about how objects in contact with each other exert forces on each other. One of the forces we're going to be looking at today is friction. And friction is when an object pushes on another object which slows it down. Alright, so to demonstrate this, we have our slide here, and we have a vehicle right here. And this object is going to come into contact with this object, and there's going to be a certain amount of friction. But what we're going to be looking at is how the surface, if the surface changes, it could change the friction, which could change the speed of the object. And so what we're going to do is we're going to do a couple tests. The first test we'll have it go down the slide just as it is, and then for the second test we're going to change the texture of the slide to see how it affects the speed. Alright, so what we're going to do is for our first run, this is going to be with the slide with its original surface, and we're going to time it with my stopwatch here to see how long it takes for it to reach the bottom. And it's probably going to be really quick. Alright, so we're ready to do our first test. And on the count of 3, I'm going to start my stopwatch and let go of the car at the same time. So 1, 2, and 3. Alright, so for our original slide surface, we came in at 1 second, or 1.2 seconds. For our next run, we have changed the texture of the slide, as you can see right here. Now this changed texture will increase the friction. And so with the increased friction, it should slow it down because it's going to be, the two objects are going to be acting on each other with greater force. So we should see the car go slower this time. We're going to see by how much slower it goes. Alright, we're about ready to start our second run. And once again, I'm going to count to 3. At the count of 3, I'm going to start my stopwatch and let go of the car at the same time. And then I will stop the time as it hits the towels at the bottom. So 1, 2, and 3. Okay, so for our second run with the added texture, the time went up to 2 seconds instead of 1.2 from before. Now for our third and final run, we are going to use the slide with a less of a slope. And as you can see down here, what we did is I put a cinder block under the slide and I lifted it up off the ground to lessen the slope. And we're going to see how that affects the speed. We are going back to the original surface for this, and so we're going to be comparing the slide with less of a slope to our original slide surface of 1.2. Right, this is our third and final run, this time with our elevated slide, so there's less of a slope. Once again, I'm going to count to 3. I'm going to drop the car and start the time at the count of 3. 1, 2, and 3. Okay, so for our third run, the slide with less slope was actually our slowest run at 2.01, but I mean that is a very small difference, right? 2.01 versus, so I mean it was pretty close to the original slope with the added texture. Okay, so because the slide had less slope, the gravitational force was not able to act as quickly on it, even though it had the original surface, and that's why it went slower.